Thank you so much. Thanks for all of your great work to make this day possible as well. And thank you to Jennifer Harden for your work and the wonderful National Park Service staff. And Congressman Moulton and I are going to try to make sure that your staff is adequate to do the job under the fiscal pressures that you're working. And now it is a National Historic Park, which is absolutely great. And to be here with so many other fantastic partners, City Council President Conrad Przewski, Councilor Jerslow, Councilor Alice Merkel, Captain Tanya Banks Christensen of the Friendship, Todd Martin with the National Park Conservation Association, and of course thank you to Annie Harris with Essex Heritage for all of your work to redesignate Salem Maritime and support this site's continued success. It's great to be here with Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, who is ubiquitous, just no matter which part of the state that you're in, and to Joan Lovely and Manny Cruz, thank you for all of the work which you do at the state level to make sure that Salem continues to be celebrated in a way that reflects its historic role in the history of Massachusetts and the history of our country. And to my partner in the United States Congress, Seth Moulton. This is a very important project for us because all of this history is given to us as children. What happened in Salem? And it helps to shape who we view ourselves to be. Children, including myself, began to visit when we were 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. It's like taking kids to the Museum of Science to teach kids that we're the science state, or to Plymouth Rock, although sometimes that can be a little underwhelming when you finally see it. But Salem, for those of us from the north of Boston, it's always been a big part of our history. So Congressman Moulton and I, we wanted to make sure that we were able to get this legislation passed and that Salem received the extra designation which it deserves. Because we stand here today on hallowed ground. This land, Salem Maritime, bore witness to American slavery, the fight for freedom, and our powerful maritime history. It is a memorial to black resistance, liberation, and the struggle for equality that has inspired generations of leaders in the fight for a livable world and for a more just future for everyone. Salem's history dates back nearly 400 years, as the mayor said, before this great nation was born. Many Americans know of the parts of Salem's dark history where personal differences were used to justify subjugating, enslaving, or killing each other. Salem's story is also one of resilience, where people figured out how to work together and to survive in unimaginably tough conditions, both on land and at sea. It is those parts of our history that we cannot forget in the face of present-day forces telling us to blame our problems on others or to look the other way in the face of injustice, wherever it occurs. It is those parts of our history that we can also look to for inspiration, to those who fought back and left their mark on our nation despite extraordinary odds and opposition. Salem Maritime allows us to look back through time to see how far we have come to today, while also seeing what can happen when we build together to build a brighter future for everyone to be included. The redesignation of the Salem Maritime as a National Historic Park will reflect its important role in our nation's history, preserve its many resources, and help bring more visitors in the future to learn from Salem's past. This will improve our cultural and historical understanding and bolster Massachusetts' vibrant tourism economy. In 2023, Salem Maritime contributed $34 million to the Massachusetts economy, and that will only grow with more visitors to the area. This redesignation comes just in time as we continue celebrations of America's 250th and we approach Salem's 400th anniversary. So visitors can hear Salem's full story, hear the story of Black Americans and Dominican Americans and Polish immigrants and working women and more, along with all of those figures that have been having the spotlight on them over the last 400 years, because our past leads us to build a better future for everyone. It's been my pleasure and honor to work with Congressman Moulton on this project to shepherd the Salem Maritime National Historic Park Designation and Boundary Study Act from its start to its enactment into law, signed by President Donald J. Trump. Who says bipartisanship is dead? Okay. I know that Essex Heritage and National Park Service partners will continue to safeguard these spectacular parts of our history, and we now must continue this fight to preserve all of the national park system and give it the resources which it deserves. So now it's my pleasure to introduce my partner in this great effort, the Congressman from Salem, Seth Moulton.
Senator, thank you very, very much. This has been a long partnership to get this done. You know, in some ways I remember this story starting when I was first running for Congress, and there was a shutdown at the time, and you were not allowed to work, and so some of us came and volunteered up at the Armory, the mayor remembers this, right as the Halloween rush was starting to come, and people would come up and say, well, what should we do? What should we see in Salem? And I would always say, Salem has this magnificent maritime history. And they'd look at me with sort of blank stares, like maybe that's not why we came from Indiana to Salem, Massachusetts. But that is what Salem should be most proud of. And that is the story that will be better told because of this legislation here today. Now, when I got elected to Congress, a lot of people wanted my attention, but Annie Harris was one of the first to actually grab it. Yes, this bill has been about a decade in the making. And Annie, you came up to me as a great advocate, an amazing volunteer in that great American tradition of volunteerism to make things like this happen. And also, by the way, as a really nice neighbor. So, Annie, thank you so much for always being on the ball. If we kept statistics of calls from individual constituents, you'd be high on the list, Annie. But not to complain, to get things done in a very difficult environment. Now, getting this bill passed actually was, as the senator said, a bit of a story of bipartisanship. I don't know how much credit our president deserves. I feel like he might have signed it in a moment of mental delusion, which seems to be a rather regular occurrence with him these days. But actually, I got it through committee by a relationship I have with a Republican across the aisle who actually went to the Yale School of Forestry, because I know him from our bipartisan workout group. And so, in a moment of weakness for him, in the middle of push-ups or something, I said, you know, we really need to get this bill done. It took a long time, Senator, but we got it across the finish line. And I've been very proud to work with you on this effort. Just a few minutes ago, we got a tour of the Custom House. And the National Park Service did a wonderful job of sharing some of that history. And it was amazing to hear about things that are coming back to us today, like the importance of tariffs in the early days of our republic. I'm not sure that we need to go back 200 years with our policy today, but it's interesting to learn about where that came from. It's interesting to hear about the value of trade and what it meant to the city of Salem in all these years and everything that's come from that trade. trade that could be very imperiled, in fact, by the new tariff policy. But most of all, it's important to just hear about the value of history. This is a time in America where some people want to rewrite history, to make it tell a story that fits their narrative, rather than the truth. The National Park Service is here to remind us of the truth. And you do that work every single day. You have more work on your shoulders as there are fewer of you, as they take people away. But those of us who value the truth and want to learn from history to better influence our future, understand how important your work is. Annie Harris shared just one story that I'll relate from that history. The house of, I don't know if that's still the old Mayor's Construction Company or what, maybe a construction company. But Annie was telling me as we were walking through the Customs House how remarkable the work of these early Salem pioneers was. As pioneers of the sea, doing the riskiest job of the day, and doing it without really knowing what was out there. Because at the time, the British Admiralty controlled all the charts. Essentially, the basic charts that we use to navigate around our oceans that we just assume are public were classified during the day. And they weren't selectively declassified to exonerate certain people in high places. They were kept highly classified so that people in America could not have the freedom of navigation on the seas that the British had. And it made the work of these volunteers, these privateers, these early revolutionaries all the more difficult, all the more challenging, all the more daring, and all the more important a story to tell. So Annie, the National Park Services, all of our elected colleagues, and Senator Markey, who's worked tirelessly with me to shepherd through this through both houses of Congress after several fits and starts. Thank you so much for bringing us to this day. But the real story of today is better telling history for our future. Salem has always been a community that looks forward, and you're helping us do that. Thank you very much. And it's now my honor to introduce the very famous and former mayor of Salem, now our Lieutenant Governor, Kim Driscoll. Thank you.
Thanks, Seth. And what a great gathering of local government, our Mayor of Pingalo, members of the City Council, state government, our legislative delegation, and our federal partners. So important and impressive that we've got everyone here to celebrate what is a really important milestone, not just for this park, but for Salem. And it's great, obviously, Superintendent, to have you here and to be celebrating a moment that we think will allow many, many more people to enjoy this fabulous, facility. As the former mayor and someone who certainly has called Salem home for many years, I know how important history is to our community, and we have a lot of it in Salem. I think I'm fond of saying we have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to history. And yet this site is the way you can really touch, feel, and shape what happened here. To think about, we have streets and buildings that still exist at a time when the first millionaire in America was walking these very blocks. It's pretty special, and that's why I think it brings people to this city every year. And I think it's what residents love about living here, this history that's unique to us. We can't thank both Senator Markey and Rep. Moulton enough for, after real effort by Essex Heritage and Annie, you are a dog on a bone. You know I feel that way, with love and affection. When you have an issue, you stay on it, and that's important because this is an important milestone for this park and the ability to knit together the historical significance of not just this site, but what it might mean for others. The ability to attract the type of funding you need is not easy to keep the friendship going. It's not easy to have older facilities. Obviously, we have impacts from climate here. We need to make sure we celebrate these resources, and by moving from a site to a park, I think it provides those opportunities. Baked into these streets of Salem, there's over 4 centuries of American history. Like, not every place can say that. And it's what makes us unique, and I think it's those Salem stories that expand beyond the witch trials, an important part of our history, a lot of lessons learned there. But to think about the great age of sail and 16-year-old sea captains leaving port from Salem, going around the world and coming back. I can't get my 19-year-old to pick up a wet towel off the floor, but we had young people really leading these efforts, and it just says something that we're able to enjoy this history today. And this site, now being a park, ensures that that history is preserved and that more people will be able to enjoy it, more people will hear those important stories. None of that will happen it's without this particular designation. So it's a win for tourism, it's a win for our environment, it's a win for our state's economy. And so really grateful to be here with all of you to celebrate this milestone and ensure that we not only tell these stories, but we live in a place that celebrates our amazing history. Thank you so much for making this a reality for us every single day. I had the good fortune of asking Superintendent Hardin to join us. Last time we were together, it was the 4th of July on a beautiful night celebrating American independence, and today we're celebrating an amazing milestone for this park. So please join us, Superintendent Hardin.
Thank you so much. Good morning. This is a really big day for us. Salem Maritime has always had a remarkable story to tell, and with this redesignation as a National Historical Park, we're giving it the recognition it deserves. As the first National Historic Site in the United States, this special place, has long held national significance. And now, almost 90 years later, we're stepping into a name that better reflects the full scope of what this park represents. Yes, maritime history and global trade, but also the many people, cultures, and industries that shape Salem, shape New England, and helped to shape this country from its earliest days. This new designation honors that complexity. It signals that history is not static. It expands, it deepens, and it becomes more inclusive as we keep asking questions and listening to more voices. I want to thank Senator Markey, Congressman Moulton, and the entire Massachusetts delegation for their leadership and vision in making this possible. You championed not just a name change, but an invitation to connect more people with this important history. Thank you also to Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, State Senator Lovely, Representative Cruz, Mayor Pangallo, Annie Harris, and so many of our state and local partners who have been steadfast in their support for this park over the years. This redesignation is a reflection of how deeply this community values its past and believes in its future. And of course, I want to thank our amazing National Park Service staff, our volunteers, and our nonprofit partners. Your stewardship makes this place come alive every single day. What excites me most is what this redesignation opens up for the future. We'll be able to tell more stories, reach more communities, and ensure that the site continues to evolve as a vibrant, inclusive space for learning, reflection, and inspiration. This National Historical Park belongs to everyone, and we're honored, truly honored, to be part of its next chapter. Thank you. I'm also honored, very honored to introduce State Senator Joan Lovely.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here, and so much has already been said, but I have to say some really deep thank yous to Senator Markey, Congressman Moulton, Annie Harris, Essex Heritage. You know, the friendship is back there because of efforts from Annie Harris way back when, and I remember when my kids were in school, they were collecting pennies in classrooms, and Annie, with your efforts really leading that effort, we have this incredible replica here right in our harbor, and it really harkens to what this looked like. And you know, so when I was actually walking through the custom house, hearing about Nathaniel Hawthorne and his work in the custom house, wasn't always happy about it, but so we heard. But it almost brought me back there. What would it have been like to be standing right here and sitting right here at this moment, back when this was actually the reality? Can you imagine what this working waterfront looked like, with ships coming and going and bringing their wares in to be counted? It really was a commerce center, really of the whole Commonwealth, really of the Northeast. And how lucky we are that it's really right here and that we're celebrating its history today. I want to also thank Lieutenant Governor Driscoll and Superintendent Hardin and your staff. Really amazing, all the work that you do. Thank you so much. And of course to Mayor Pangallo and the City Council for everything that you do. And of course my partner in crime, Rep. Cruz. I saw a photograph up on the second floor, and it was of a naturalization ceremony right on those steps. And it just drew me right in. And I said, this is what this is all about. We welcome our immigrants, and we do so every year on the lawn at the House of Seven Gables. And that's what the history of our area of Salem, but of our country, what it is. And it all started right here. So thank you again for everyone who's had an effort, to both the senator and the congressman, for shepherding that through over a decade. We know what that looks like. Sometimes it's not easy, but you persevered, and here we are. So thank you so much. And now it is my pleasure and honor to introduce my honorable Rep. Manny Cruz, my strong partner. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. We're going to do that again. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Much better. Senator Lovely, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I'm so lucky to call you my partner on Beacon Hill. And, we are fortunate to be represented by you and for your leadership at NCSL this past week, where we welcomed over 10,000 people here to our Commonwealth. I want to begin by thanking our congressman and senator for the work that they did to turn this historic site into a park. As a former National Park Service ranger here at Salem Maritime, I wore the green and gray, and so I know very well the history. I could have given the tour of the Customs House, but I think I'm better suited on the friendship. And I want to talk about the importance of two kinds of ships, friendship and leadership. As we think about this designation, the congressman mentioned friendship. Reaching across the aisle, engaging with someone who may hold different opinions, but finding a way to work together. Leadership. The senator, you've been at this for a very long time, my friend, and I've seen your vision for our Commonwealth. Months ago, we were here celebrating offshore winds coming to Salem, different types of vessels, but restoring our center as a place of leadership and vision for a new sector. And leadership right now is so critically important. And as I look out into the audience today, I see that we're joined by future leaders. On my staff, I have some of my legislative interns. James and Jada are here, my legislative aide, and then we have the future leaders from the Essex Heritage area. And when I think about what these young people are witnessing today, a moment 90 years in the making, I want this to be a reminder to you that even in a moment where it seems like there is uncertainty in our federal government, that we are finding ways to deliver results for the American people, to support the economy, because we know here in the Commonwealth, tourism is the third leading driver of our economic impact here in Massachusetts. So moments like this, where we can redesignate a park, allow us to elevate not just this site, but Salem's standing in our Commonwealth. And I'm incredibly humbled. I remember giving the tours of the friendship, welcoming some of those millions of visitors that would make their way here to sometimes, yes, learn about what was a little bit more, I'll say, hysterical versus historical. But when they made their way here, this became a place of wonder for them. There's something about the sea, the uncertainty, where these vessels travel to. I want to thank the senator for elevating the fact that this designation allows us to talk about those who are unheralded. Salem's role in the slave trade. My ancestors in the Dominican Republic who were enslaved, bringing sugarcane and molasses aboard vessels just like Friendship, helping Salem build their empire. And now, in their wildest dreams, one of their descendants stands here with a United States senator, a congressman, our mayor, as the state representative, writing laws to make this place more just for all. So this moment is amazing. It is incredible for our community, and we will continue to be a place and a beacon for hope, for truth, and justice for all. I thank you all for being here. And now I have the distinct pleasure of welcoming a dear friend and an advocate, one of my former bosses, Annie Harris, the president of the Essex National Heritage Area.
Well, I'm delighted to be here, and I'll be very brief. Essex Heritage has enjoyed a very long close partnership with Salem Maritime, with the other parks, Saugus Iron Works, and within the Essex National Heritage Area, really so pleased to be able to see this celebration of Salem Maritime and what an important site, as many people have talked about the history. Such an important site in history, and this designation is really wonderful for it. It's sort of elevates and brings public recognition to what important stories are here. I want to, of course, thank very much Senator Markey and Congressman Moulton. It took you 3 sessions of Congress to get this bill, and that wasn't all the prep work that was done years before, but thank you for continuing to reintroduce the bill, and reintroduce the bill, and reintroduce the bill, and I'm astounded it happened this year, but it's wonderful. The surprises it's just wonderful, so thank you so much. And then, as you all had mentioned, I'm kind of a dog with the bones, so I will mention one thing. The legislation has calls for this redesignation, this name change. It also requests that the National Park Service do a boundary study. Look at some of the other resources that are connected to the theme. Maybe particularly military history. Fort Lee and Fort Pickering come to mind as in Salem. It'd be wonderful to have them studied more, maybe be included in the park in the future, but at least elevate their importance. They date from the 1640s, so it's really important history that's not well known. Also, the visitor center that the Park Service runs, it is not within the boundaries. So I'm going to hope that advocate that you could help find the funding to get the Park Service to do the study in the next 3 years. That would be really, really helpful as well. But thank you so much. Thank you for your persistence and all. It's wonderful. So thank you. That's it. Oh, okay. Is that it? Are we at the end? Thank you.